Hi friends, you're watching Angie and Ben at Kind Heart Homestead. We are a couple starting our journey of sustainability and living with intent. Over the last couple years, we've combined my obsession to all things DIY with Angie's love of the land. This has led to an interesting assortment of challenges that neither of us would have anticipated. Just over the last couple years, we built a greenhouse, raised chickens, built a workshop, and renovated our house, all by ourselves. Come with us as we grow, not just in the garden, but together as a family. You are invited to join us on our adventure, and we hope our channel gives you the confidence to try new things outside your comfort zone and to achieve things you never thought you could. So to start off the growing season, I went to Home Depot and bought 6 packs of this Jiffy seed starting mix. Why 6 bags? Well, I can't find any large bags of this product. We could potentially make our own seed starting mix if I had all the ingredients on hand, but I don't. So this is the best I can do for now, and we'll probably have to buy many more bags for this growing season.
1 hour later.
So for our uses, having this mixture sit for about an hour to have the water kind of evenly absorb into it works perfect for us. And what I mean by that is we're actually making our own soil blocks with this 4-block mechanism that we got online a year or two ago. And it works great. I think different plants might need different size blocks, but most of the ones we grow, like peppers and tomatoes, work great in this kind. You can always transplant the cubes into a pot if you need to let them grow in a greenhouse or something for longer before you put them in the ground. And I think there's even some sort of contraption where you can build even larger cubes to put these cubes in, but that seems kind of unnecessary. We just have a bunch of these trays. I can fit it 4 wide with the block maker and then shove an extra 5th block kind of wedged in between the blocks I've already placed and the sidewall of those containers. We got these containers from Bootstrap Farmer. There's typically really bad plastic used in the cheap ones, and those don't last more than 1 or 2 years. These ones seem to be pretty indestructible. You can see they're a bit faded from the sun here in the south, but other than that, we're a couple years strong on these, and they're working great. What I'm explaining here, not realizing the camera is on time-lapse mode, is that 1 bag of soil and 1 gallon of water combined seems to be the good ratio for this mix. And once there's a tray full of cubes, it's time to seed. You can see here I'm trying to mix kind of similar plants into a tray. There's 3 packs of peppers here. A couple of those are blends, so this is going to potentially be maybe like 5 to 8 different varieties of peppers in this one tray. It is a bit tedious to put these little seeds in the cubes. So what I did here is you could see I came in to get out of the wind, just put on the TV, listen to that while I manually put seeds in the trays. With this mixture, the cubes should be wet enough for what the seed needs, but because it was so windy outside and the cubes were drying out a bit, I decided to give them a quick spray before I covered the seeds with my fingers, just sort of pinching some of the soil over the top. After the first round of mix, I realized that I could fit a lot more soil in this flexible basket, so I made a double batch here. I got out a bit more seed trays this time for the double batch, and as you can see, I can knock out these cubes relatively quickly. There's a few that kind of squished. Maybe I should have added a bit more water. But I got the seeds planted and they're stored in the kitchen. Hi everyone, we're trying to get our garden beds ready for the year. We're shifting it this year from the back of the house, which we kind of had a bit of a slope and some standing water issues, over to the front of the house. And you can see where we made this garden last year in our Three Sisters garden video, where we grew the corn, the squash, and the green beans.
So we're going to try to move all of the landscape fabric that we've used previous years over to this area. We'll probably have to rent a tiller to develop it, but for right now we're going to run some string lines, take some measurements, just try to stake out the lines for where the garden's going to be this year.
You'll notice a consistent theme across this project, which is running the string line. Basically, we don't have an unlimited supply of compost, so having a string as a guide helps us kind of conserve the material and make sure it's only going to be placed where the plants grow. Beyond the string, I typically fill with mulch, just as kind of a human walkway to prevent weeds, and it also creates a barricade to prevent the fresh compost from washing out during a storm.
Day 2 here on the new bed. I rented a tiller from Home Depot. Let's see how it goes.
Take a look at the different colors there on the ground between the fence and where the camera is situated. The most brown area is mostly bare dirt that's had tarps, pool covers, landscape fabric, any number of things over the ground suppressing weeds for the past few months to a year. But down in that grassy area, it's never been covered. And you'll notice that I have a huge challenge ahead of me trying to till through that with such a small tiller. In the future, I'd probably want something that weighs a few hundred pounds that has a depth controller to really till out that grass and get the rhizomes out of the earth. In the 4-hour window that I had with the tiller, minus my lunch break, I was able to fully pass the entire garden in 2 directions. Paying special attention to the grassiest areas because I'm trying to rip as many roots out as I can just to kind of help prevent competition with our crops.
Definitely going to have some blisters on my hands tomorrow. That was probably the hardest gardening task I've ever done. I'm kind of racing the clock. I'm trying to return this tiller within the 4-hour window for the lowest tool rental fee. This actually wasn't really that much more powerful than our electric one that we use with the extension cord. The only difference is this one has about twice as wide of tines than our electric one does, and that means potentially half the time, not to mention any time wasted managing extension cords. So this really only used one tank of fuel, uses regular unleaded gasoline, which I already have for the lawnmower on hand in a big jug. I had it winterized for the season. This was actually my first use this year, so the jug was pretty full. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up and get this tool returned. So I just bought this landscaping rake. As you can see, it's pretty rigid and about, 2.5, 3 feet long, or wide I should say. I got it actually to spread compost evenly and kind of grade out the garden, but it actually came in handy to remove rocks and sticks to kind of dethatch the freshly tilled garden as well.
Another YouTuber in my area is named Josh Satin. I've watched some of his tool videos where he recommends different pieces of equipment for your urban farm or however you're growing your crops. He recommended a rake similar to this, just a different brand around the same price. He got his from Lowe's. I got ours from Tractor Supply, I believe. So you can see here, I'm just kind of trying to grade out this area. There were some of those kind of rough, lumpy areas that I had tilled, and then this is kind of filling in those gaps.
Well, it's day 3 on trying to get this bed built. We haven't planted anything in it yet because I still don't have the compost fully laid out and stuff like that. As you can see here, this first row is basically done. This is going to be an exposed bed where we direct seed things like radishes and maybe some peas. Basically anything that has a tight spacing will go there. But for the rest of the garden over here, we're going to use our 50-foot pre-cut, pre-burnt landscape fabrics that we've used in previous years. And those will be for transplants like peppers and tomatoes, potentially. Things that have a determined crop spacing of at least maybe 1 foot or so. But I have to figure out how I'm going to spread the compost. We have a limited amount of compost. We can bring in another pickup truckload if we need to, but it's kind of a hassle. So I'm probably going to build things one at a time, and then we'll see how it goes.
So in the past, I've had issues staking down this fabric because the wind will lift it up and pull the staples right out of the ground. So this time what I did was I raked back the mulch, stapled it down, and then pulled the mulch back over the seam just to kind of prevent it from blowing up. Then I'm wrapping the fabric over the mulch so I can have access to put compost under it. I'm basically running string lines just to get compost under the holes, and then I can fill the walkways, under the walkways, with mulch. You can see here I went and got a full truckload of compost from a local supplier. It kind of bottoms out our truck, so I can't drive too far with it. But I was able to get it home, and you can see here it's hot and steamy. But basically I'm just getting it in position because each of our fabrics has 2 rows of holes, which means 2 rows of crops. And since I'm trying to be conservative and having wood chips in the middle walkway, I have to complete out these 2 rows of compost before I can move on to the next sheet. And I actually ran out of compost again. I might not even have enough to do the second full sheet. Might have to go get another load. But this is a completely experimental design. I think what a lot of farmers do who build their own beds is do 3-foot beds. Our beds are only like maybe 2 feet because of the way our holes are configured. Next, I compact the compost and start poking some holes evenly spaced for seeds. They do make specialized tools for all of these, but my boots seem to work pretty well for tamping. I think there's some sort of drum on a handle that can roll across to achieve probably a more consistent tamping. But then I use my little 4-pronged fork that already has forks that are 2-inch spacing. Most of the seeds that I'm planting require 2-inch spacing, and for those with a wider spacing, I simply just plant every other hole. Repeating this process, I planted seeds for peas, spinach, radishes, carrots, and beets, which are all known to be a bit more cold tolerant than the stuff that we're growing inside, like the nightshade family. Here's some bonus content from this month's video. In case you guys are interested in chickens, here's our new coop. I actually got this dog house for free through some scrap metal from our roofing project onto the roof of it. And now I'm just using some free lumber that I obtained over the last couple of years to kind of put it up on blocks. Basically everything in that was either scrap from a project we used with purchased materials or just free materials that we got from neighbors and friends. So it doesn't look like much now in the video, but as you'll see in a few minutes, it actually becomes pretty nice, at least for a chicken coop. The reason I took a few days to work on this was because we actually had a vacation coming up, and the chickens weren't really happy in the location they were in. They keep escaping their chicken run. So basically, I moved the hardware over to this coop, including the solar-powered chicken door that we have. Then I put up some fencing around this bush you see to the left. I've actually been calling this the luxury chicken coop because I found these pretty luxury vinyl plank flooring boards. A neighbor of mine had several scraps of different colors. It was basically like a sample pack for them to test out colors in their house. And chickens don't care about the color of their flooring, but the important thing was these were all compatible with one another. So I laid them down the entire length of the floor. So about a year ago, I found these metal transition strips. They fell off a truck in front of my house, and they were rattling around on the road because people kept running over them. I ended up just picking them up because no one came back for them. I'm able to cut them by hand with my shears, and I just used some basic drywall screws just to kind of clamp these vinyl flooring pieces down around the edges. They kind of have a cork underlayment, which I don't want to get wet, so I'm doing my best to seal around the perimeter to make sure nothing gets under there. The exterior of the coop is pretty weatherized, weatherproofed, I mean, but I don't expect any water to get inside at this point. The funny thing about this build was that before I even had it completed, basically I had the plywood walls up, but there was still access to the inside and to a perch. The chickens were coming over here because they were escaping from their existing coop, and I actually found an egg in here before we even moved them in. So they were really happy about this new location, and once everything got completed with their food and their water, they've really loved it. Here's a quick walk around of the coop. Here's the ladies' first chicken door. It has a solar panel, recharges the batteries, and then it also senses when it's light outside. So when the sun goes down, the door closes. The sun is coming up, the door opens. I have a little human hatch on the side here. Got a couple eggs. See that perch I have across? You can't see the flooring anymore because of all the wood chips. And then this spot out here is eventually going to be a nesting box area. Well, that's it for the update. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you later.